He'll be tough on himself. I mean, he set out a very demanding programme. There isn't a button to push or a lever to pull. There are things that can be done to take the pressure off people in the short term, but it's about being on that journey to change our country fundamentally.
It is, of course, a very big day in British politics. Starmer out, Burnham in. So we wanted to hear from both the left and the right of the political spectrum. Joining me now is Labour backbench MP Andy McDonald and Shadow Energy Minister Tory Andrew Bowie. And thank you both very much indeed for joining me on The Times at 1. Andy McDonald, I'm going to start with you. You've just seen your new leader head into number 10. You've heard his first words on the steps outside. How are you feeling about this sort of remake of the Labour government?
Well, Stephen, I thought that was a tremendous speech. It was comprehensive. It covered all the bases: council housing, defence, education, energy, all the things that matter to the British people, and a clear determination to uplift people's material living conditions, which is exactly what people have been wanting to hear. And it's now a matter of making sure that that's put into action. So I think that was a very inspiring speech that gave me, and I hope millions of other people, a sense of real hope and the changes that we do need. He talked about a circuit breaker and a new way of doing politics.
How long will it be before you get on his back? I mean, you were on Keir Starmer's back in recent months in a big way. If he doesn't please you on issues like immigration policy, welfare policy, will you be stabbing him in the back before too long?
Well, I'm not sure I get the caricature of stabbing people in the back. I think we've got to have a better way of talking about politics.
Fair point. Let me put it a better way. Will you be as tough on Burnham as you were on Starmer?
He'll be as tough on himself. I mean, he set out a very demanding programme. There isn't a button to push or a lever to pull. There are things that can be done to take the pressure off people in the short term, but it's about being on that journey to change our country fundamentally. Andy set out the history of that in terms of the 40 years of neoliberalism that has ended with us being in this place, with people feeling that nothing works for them, and that those public utilities and public services not doing what they're supposed to do, be of service to them, but simply provide opportunities for people to make profit out of the essentials of life. And so I think Andy's going to be his own harshest critic, and this isn't going to be easy, but he's demonstrated a real determination, I think, in that speech, setting out exactly where he thinks the country should be going.
Andrew Bowie, I dare say you and your party thoroughly enjoyed having Keir Starmer in office with his poll ratings sinking through the floor. You've now got to deal with a new Prime Minister and a new Labour leader who, it seems, according to the polls, at the moment is being given the benefit of the doubt by plenty of people across the country. Your job suddenly got much harder, hasn't it?
Well, let's face it, Andy Burnham's got quite an easy start to this job, given that he won't be held to account or scrutinised for 6 full weeks, because the Labour Party's timetable for this leadership election has allowed him to come into office whilst Parliament is in recess. That aside, look, we'll see what the substance is. Andy Burnham has made a speech. There was little of any real substance in that speech, other than a vague commitment to end rough sleeping, something that he promised to do in Manchester 4 years ago. And by the way, we've seen rough sleeping rise year on year every year that he has been Mayor of Greater Manchester. There was no mention of oil and gas policy, despite heavy briefing at the end of last week, and indeed a Truth Social post by the President of the United States claiming that there was going to be a complete change of policy in regards to the North Sea. So look, we'll wait and see what the substance is. We'll wait and see how radical Andy Burnham is going to be. But of course, he can't be that radical because he has no mandate. He is there with 400 odd MPs who were elected on a Labour manifesto just 2 years ago, enabled to be fully radical, he would need to go to the country again to seek a new mandate. He doesn't have a mandate to be radical, and the problem wasn't really
as we all remember, the Tories didn't stick to that principle when they changed leaders. So let's not go too far down that track.
Well, to be fair, with the exception of Liz Truss, Boris Johnson went to the country within 4 months of becoming Prime Minister. Theresa May went to the country less than 2 years after becoming Prime Minister, when it was clear she wanted a more radical mandate than the one that David Cameron had been elected.
Yeah, I'm not sure that list and litany is necessarily helping the argument too much, but I do want to go back to Andy McDonald before we close, just to consider what's going to happen next, which is really interesting cabinet appointments. We're going to learn in the next few hours, one imagines. Andy McDonald, how emblematic is it going to be, for example, the choice of Chancellor? We were told over days and weeks it was a choice between Ed Miliband and Shabana Mahmood. How important is that choice going to be to the way you feel about the Burnham project?
Well, it's a colossal role. It's hugely important. How I feel about it is secondary. It's the second most important job in the country. So it's imperative that that individual who occupies that position can discharge those duties with great skill and resolution. So I'm in your position, Stephen. I'm waiting to hear who's going to occupy that slot, as well as the other cabinet positions. They're all important, but that's possibly the most important of them all, bar the Prime Minister.
And Andrew Bowie, I want to end with you. It's striking that Kemi Badenoch says that she wants to work with Andy Burnham if he's going to do things on welfare, on North Sea oil and gas that she can get on board with. I guess the truth is you're just looking to create more trouble inside the Labour Party, aren't you, with a sort of proposition like that?
No, not at all. We offered to work constructively with the last Prime Minister on welfare reform. It wasn't Conservative votes that stymied his attempt to reform the welfare bill about a year ago. It was his own backbenchers that stopped that happening. On energy, we want to see a more pragmatic approach to energy, and this continued ban on new licences and the energy profits levy is about the most unpragmatic approach that you could take towards an energy crisis, worries about our energy security, and indeed our economy. So, of course, we want to work with them where we can find common ground and work in the national interest.
All right. Well, Andy McDonald and Andrew Bowie, thank you very much indeed for joining me on The Times at 1.